Picture this. It's 47 BCE, Rome is burning with riots, and thousands of battle-hardened veterans are marching on the Capitol demanding their pay. They've already killed 2 senators and threatened to murder anyone who gets in their way. Now they're standing in the field of Mars, armed and furious, facing down the most powerful man in Rome. Julius Caesar steps onto the platform alone. No bodyguards, no backup legions. Just one man against an army of angry soldiers who've been with him through years of brutal warfare. The crowd is roaring, demanding their money, their land, their discharge from service. Then Caesar says 3 words that instantly turn rebellion into shame. What did he say? And why did it work so perfectly that hardened warriors started begging for forgiveness? When Rome was coming apart at the seams. Caesar had just returned from his eastern campaigns to find Rome in complete chaos. This wasn't your typical political unrest. The entire city was falling apart. Citizens were rioting over skyrocketing rent and crushing debt. Government officials were fighting bloody battles with each other instead of solving problems. But worst of all, Caesar's own veteran legions, the men who'd conquered Gaul and made him the most powerful man alive, had joined the rebellion. These weren't fresh recruits throwing a tantrum. These were seasoned warriors who'd served their full terms and were legally entitled to discharge, land grants, and bonus payments. But they'd been kept in service for years beyond their contracts, watching their commanders get rich while they got nothing. They were armed, they were organized, and they were done taking orders. The veterans who refused to quit or leave. Here's what made the situation so dangerous. These soldiers didn't want to serve anymore, but they also refused to give up their weapons. They understood that as long as they stayed armed, they had power. The moment they surrendered their gear, they'd become just another group of broke citizens that Rome could ignore. So they camped outside the city, making demands and growing more dangerous by the day. Caesar tried the diplomatic approach first. He sent his representative, Cornelius Sulla, to order the legions to move to Sicily, basically telling them to get away from Rome. The veterans not only refused, but hurled insults and threats at Caesar's messenger. Next, Caesar sent Praetor Sallustius. The soldiers literally chased him away, and he barely escaped with his life. Finally, Caesar dispatched 2 senators to negotiate. The rebels murdered them both. Now the mutinous legions were marching on Rome itself, and Caesar was out of options. The ultimate power move. Caesar's advisors begged him not to face the soldiers personally. These men had just killed senators. What would stop them from killing Caesar too? But Caesar walked out onto that platform anyway, staring down thousands of armed veterans who were shouting demands at him. They wanted their discharge, their land, their bonuses, everything they'd been promised for years of loyal service. The crowd was getting louder, more threatening. Caesar raised his hand for silence. Then he said, "I discharge you." Dead silence. The soldiers had expected negotiations, promises, delays, the usual political runaround. They never expected Caesar to simply give them exactly what they wanted, just like that. But Caesar wasn't done. He added the killer blow, "And I'll give you everything you're owed when I celebrate my triumph with other armies." Translation: I'm going to keep winning wars without you. You can take your money and get lost. The psychology of genius-level manipulation. Here's why Caesar's move was so brilliant. He turned the soldiers' strength into their weakness. The veterans thought they had leverage because Caesar needed them. They were his best fighters, his most experienced troops, his key to future victories. Surely he wouldn't just replace them? But Caesar called their bluff. He basically said, Fine. You don't want to be soldiers anymore. You're not soldiers. You're just civilians now. I'll find new armies to conquer Africa with. And then, the masterstroke. He stopped calling them soldiers and started calling them citizens. In Roman culture, this was a devastating insult to professional warriors. He was stripping away their military identity and reducing them to ordinary people. These tough veterans, who'd faced Germanic tribes and Gallic warriors without flinching, suddenly realized they were being discarded like broken equipment. Caesar didn't need them. Caesar could replace them, from rebellion to begging. The effect was instant and complete. According to the historian Suetonius, the soldiers immediately started begging Caesar for forgiveness. They were willing to accept any punishment, anything, if he'd just take them back. They knew Caesar was planning the African campaign, and they knew he'd win. Roman generals didn't just bring glory to Rome, they brought wealth to their soldiers. Being cut out of Caesar's future victories meant being cut out of future riches. Caesar pretended to hesitate, letting them sweat. Then, magnanimously, he forgave them and immediately dispatched the 10th Legion to Africa. The ringleaders got reduced bonuses as punishment, incredibly mild compared to the execution they legally deserved for mutiny. Just like that, the most dangerous rebellion in Roman history was over. No violence, no bloodshed, just psychological warfare at its finest. The lesson that echoes through history. Caesar's brilliance wasn't in the words he said, it was in understanding human psychology. He realized that what people want most is often what they fear losing. The soldiers thought they were calling Caesar's bluff. Instead, Caesar called theirs. He showed them that their power came not from their demands, but from his willingness to meet them. It's a lesson every leader, negotiator, and parent can learn from. Sometimes the best way to handle demands is to simply agree to them. The person making threats might realize they don't actually want what they're asking for. Caesar understood that these veterans didn't really want to stop being soldiers. They wanted to feel valued as soldiers. By threatening to make them civilians, he reminded them why they joined him in the first place. What do you think? Was Caesar a genius negotiator or just lucky that his bluff worked? And could this tactic work in modern conflicts? Let me know in the comments.